Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, colleagues. My pop-off is pretty lengthy, but it's worth it, full of value. Last week, I joined Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church for their church anniversary. I want to thank Pastor Damon Wilkins and the entire congregation for a very lively service. I also want to mention that on the same morning, I was at Greater Mount Pilgrim's Missionary Baptist Church to address longstanding issues around inoperable cars, stray dogs at the mechanic shops. I want to shout out Park Houston and ARA for their diligence. We have seen massive improvement in that area, and I also want to shout out Sarai on my team for her excellence in getting this to the finish line. As you all know, that we are on the road to our special called committee meeting, co-chaired by the Economic Development Committee and the Housing Committee for our apartment inspection ordinance. I want to ask all of you to join us on Monday, March 30th at 2 p.m. here in Chambers. You can be in person and also watch live on my YouTube page. I want to remind residents to make sure that they save two dates. On Tuesday, March 31st, the Housing and Community Development Department will be hosting their first in-person spring community meeting. The City of Houston receives $50 million in community development block grant dollars to address housing and community development activities, everything from homelessness, down payment assistance, multifamily, single family, you name it. However, we need your feedback before this item and application comes to council and before it is sent to HUD. They are coming to the Westside on Tuesday, March 31st at 6 p.m. at Alief Neighborhood Center for the in-person, and then online April 7th from 3 to 5 p.m. And then if you're unable to make any of those meetings, they're receiving public comment. The deadline is April 8th, 2026. So this is incredibly important. This is your opportunity to inform the department and the city how we direct those funds. Also, on Easter weekend, on the West Side, we are hosting a Westside Mobile Care Day of shower services and support, following the momentum from the January freeze in response to visiting the 17 encampments on the West Side. My office has created a Homelessness Strike Force, so we're hosting our inaugural Westside Mobile Care Center. It's on Saturday, April 4th, Easter weekend. So we are not just celebrating resurrection in our faith, but we're also working with the unhoused to resurrect their lives. We'll be at the Church Without Walls at Eldridge from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will have health resources, ID information, recovery support, benefits, social services, job information, haircuts, and most importantly, we'll have showers and other resources for them. Really excited about this. And to all of our partners that are standing up this opportunity, volunteer opportunities will be shared in the newsletter. Continue to sign up and follow us for more information. Looking forward to a transformational weekend. Speaking of the homelessness issue, the Old Wells Fargo, and I mentioned this in January, the Old Wells Fargo on Hillcroft between Westheimer and Richmond. It's for the last couple of years, it's been an encampment. And we've identified 10 to 15 individuals there. In January, there was a homicide that took place at that location. ABC 13 covered that story and several other news outlets. I've been in contact with the mother. That location, although has been secured, still has about 10 to 15 individuals there. I immediately called Houston Public Works to see what we can do. The public sign on the location states that it's going to be a gas station. However, there are no active permits for any gas station or any activity. However, there is a demolition application in the process. Public Works, HPD, we all have our hands on this property. It abuts the Briar Meadow neighborhood right there off of Richmond and Hillcroft, and it is definitely a problem. But it also speaks to the fact that individuals are willing to put themselves in an unsound structure environment, a structural facility for housing. So it speaks to that, but I want the residents to know, and this was notated in the newsletter, that we are addressing this problem. The family are in contact with HPD and Crime Stoppers. We're gonna stand with them to support the victims around making sure that we keep this case active and that they solve the case as well. Lastly, I want to shout out my girl, Barbara Quattro. Barbara Quattro is still making moves on the West Side in her spirit. And today there will be a Barbara Quattro exhibit honoring her at the Alief Neighborhood Center. I want to encourage you as we conclude Women's Month, and then celebrate Earth Month. And if you know anything about BQ, she was the tree lady in the city of Houston. And so we have some of her items and artifacts displayed throughout the neighborhood center. So we want to invite you to join us. We'll send information out. But the exhibit features items loaned from the Quattro family, including personal photos, milestone documents, and more. Her city proclamation. So I also want to thank the Houston Public Library for their partnership in this. This is one of the things that I talked to Barbara about before she transitioned. So happy to honor her. Happy to have the support of the department and the individuals who knew her personally as they work with her to make sure that we could have and enjoy the Alief Neighborhood Center. Several things are happening on the West Side. Follow us on all of our social media platforms and reach out to our office at District F at houstontx.gov. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.